Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network.
We're in Yellowpoint today. The Cedar Yellowpoint Artisan Association is gearing up for the 25th annual Christmas studio tour, and today we're checking out Fern and Feather.
Movember isn't just for the men anymore. Trucks for Change and Food Banks Canada make a big difference, and upcycled Christmas wreaths. That and more in the next 30 minutes.
You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We've moved into the driveway here at Fern and Feather, number 16 on the 25th annual Cedar Yellowpoint Artisan Tour. We're going to tell you more about that later on this edition of Go Island. And we're introducing you to a wonderful woman full of energy, full of creativity. Her name is Priscilla. We'll meet her in just a minute. But first, typically Movember is a month that men participate in by growing mustaches because it's a fundraising month for prostate cancer. But here in Nanaimo, there's a group of women who are also getting involved. Kelly Robinson has more. So there are men and yes, women participating in Movember, and we can't forget about our very own Todd Jones. He's been growing now for about 3 weeks. Here's a look at his progress. I think it's a little bit farther along than the progress of his donations. You can visit Movember.com, search for Shaw, Vancouver Island, look up Todd Jones and donate a little bit or a lot. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We're here in the garden of the Fern and Feather Studio and Garden. This is Priscilla Brewer, and she's full of energy, full of talent, full of ideas. We're here at a pond that is kind of the end point of a walking trail around your garden. If we were to be back there in the trails, what would we see?
Well, I like taking my customers on this beautiful walk through the forest. I've got a trail system going through all the native plants, and I often will identify native plants for people and tell stories about how these native plants were used by First Nations as food sources and that kind of thing. And then we walk through the forest and we end up at this beautiful pond, which I built last spring during a workshop, a pond building workshop. We built this pond here, and the pond does a great job at attracting tons of birds, native frogs, and beneficial insects to the garden. So I've really helped create a whole ecosystem in my woodland garden here for beauty and education and just our pure enjoyment from our home as well.
Is this a complicated pond to make? How long? An amateur can't do this. I certainly wouldn't want to take this on by myself.
No, I don't recommend homeowners try pond building themselves. It is very tricky to get the water to look very natural and to make sure there's no plastic showing. Also, it has to be the right depth and the right shape to keep the raccoons and herons out so that you can keep your fish going in there. So what we do, this pond is actually 3 feet deep. So, and the sides go straight down. I don't have a ledge for any plants, and that way the herons and raccoons are not able to get the fish.
Wow.
And it has such a natural feel with all the stonework and the moss and everything.
Priscilla is a professional landscaper, and you're an artist as well, and you combine the two when planning your gardens. None of this is by accident, and none of the things that happen with your clients are by accident either. You sketch it out, you draw it out, and you're almost able to step inside of this garden before it becomes a reality.
That's right. Part of my job is I do hand-drawn landscape designs for my clients, where we get together for about 4 or 5 meetings, and I figure out what they want to use their space for, and I create it on paper so that they're able to get really accurate estimate and that the work is done exactly how they can envision themselves using the space.
And this is just the very tip of the iceberg of the things that Priscilla creates. We're going to have a look at some of her art and some of her upcycled furniture. That's later on Go after a short break.
Still to come today on Go, Trucks for Change rolls out across Canada, volunteer power in Port Alberni, and upcycled art in Victoria. That's still ahead.
Did you know that Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, only ever played 5 official concerts outside the US? All of them in Canada. 2 in Toronto, 2 in Ottawa, and the very final one in Vancouver, and all in 1957.
And did you know that the 25th annual Christmas Country Tour here in Cedar Yellowpoint runs November 21st to the 24th? It's a self-guided tour. There are 22 artists featured on the tour this year, and Priscilla Brewer is one of them. Multi-talented, as we are finding out. We had a quick look at her pond and her ideas around landscaping. We're going to visit the garden in just a little while, but she also does art, and you've done each one of these prints, but I can't really call them prints because they're one of a kind and made by hand.
They're all original art. It's ink on acrylic, and they take quite a long time, as you can imagine. And I just sit there with each piece and just go through. Every single line is drawn by me to create these beautiful ocean. I have mostly an ocean theme with my paintings.
And that is a little bit of a contrast to the garden and the natural native plants. What does that say about where you're going when you're creating your art?
Well, I was born and raised on Vancouver Island, and I'm definitely an island girl. I love the ocean and I love the forest. So I've tried to, you know, sort of show that through my art and through my gardens.
And what a perfect place to be here in Yellowpoint. One of the things that you've shared with us, Priscilla, is that recycling and sustainability is very, very important to you. We're going to look at some of the upcycled furniture in just a little while. But there's enough stuff in the world already, including Christmas cards?
Yes.
You've done something.
I don't believe in Christmas cards.
So what have you done here?
So I've created some reusable Christmas cards. What I did was I made little chalkboards inside of each card. And so you can write a little note to your loved one. Oh. And then next Christmas, your loved one can erase it and write it to somebody else. Yeah. And then maybe you'll get this card in 5 years.
Back. And it doesn't have to be Christmas. It could be a birthday, a little thank you. I think that is such a wonderful idea.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, we're going to have a look at some of the upcycled furniture here at Fern and Feather later on this edition of Go Island, but we're visiting Ontario now. Why? Well, because Food Banks Canada is connecting and joining forces with Trucks for Change. There's an impact that will happen, is happening in a very positive way across the country. At the end of the season, but still hanging on, peppers here in the garden at the Fern and Feather. It's the garden studio and home of Priscilla Brewer. We've met her earlier. We'll meet her again before the end of this edition of Go Island. She's growing artichokes here in her garden. And this is her greenhouse. She says that she grows 20 different types of tomatoes, all from her very own seed. And this is really just the tip of the iceberg. A lot of energy, a lot of knowledge and talent can be found through Priscilla, and you can experience it for yourself at the 25th annual Country Christmas Self-Guided Tour, the Cedar Yellowpoint Artisans Association. This is the flyer that you're looking for. 22 local artisans, cyartisans.com. We're going to throw things over now quickly to a lady who has a real soft spot for animals. There's a little dog at the Parksville Qualicum SPCA that needs a new home.
Thanks, Kate. This is Rocco, and he is a super affectionate guy waiting for adoption here at the Parksville Qualicum SPCA. Nadine, what can you tell us about him?
He's a cutie. This one, I mean, he's a nice little size for, you know, a lot of people because they don't, you know, not everybody wants a large sized dog. He's super affectionate, like you said, tries climbing on your lap. 5 years old, neutered male. He's great.
He is great until he looks in the camera lens. He honestly has not made a sound until he looks at himself in there. So come on down and meet him for yourself when there's not a camera in between you here at the Parksville Qualicum SPCA.
Rocco's maybe a little bit camera shy. I can't say the same thing by any stretch of the imagination. We're going to head up to Port Alberni now. When it comes to many organizations, volunteers are key. The time, energy, and dedication that volunteers put into the projects they take on is inspiring. Here's Jenny Fortin. You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. We have promised and are now fulfilling a look at the upcycled furniture from Priscilla Brewer, part of the Fern and Feather Studio and Garden here. What is it about furniture that makes you want to take it home and make it into something reusable and different?
Well, my husband and I, as you said, we take old quality pieces of furniture and we give them a new life by giving them some cool colors and also fixing them up, cleaning them up.
And you're not trying to make them look new.
No.
Because this doesn't look brand new at all.
No, it's not. Everything old is new again here at the Fern and Feather, just with the new colors and just repairing or fixing the furniture. New furniture is made to be disposable. So if you go to Walmart,
That's okay. It's okay. We can say Walmart. I don't think anyone's going to disagree.
I think most of the newly built furniture is sort of more disposable, where the old pieces are solid wood. They'll last you another whole lifetime. So we're taking those older pieces that maybe have an outdated color, or they're too shiny, or they're, just not suitable for our modern decor, and we're giving them a new life again, with the updated colors and the distressing, and just keeping this stuff out of the landfills.
Right, and there is enough stuff. You're very passionate. We don't need to buy new stuff. There's enough stuff in the world already to have what we need without creating more. And you're also very proud of the fact that nothing here is new. If your husband built a shelf, which some of them he has, the wood has been sort of recovered from somewhere. And what old is new again, including trends. You think spice racks are coming back?
Yes. We have a really nice spice rack collection. My husband has built a few of them, and a few of them I have just upcycled. And yeah, I think spice racks are coming back again. People are using herbs from their own garden and drying them, and herbs are the new thing in cooking now. Not the new thing, the old new thing.
Right.
So I think that spice racks are really making a big comeback.
And to reinforce that point, you don't need to go buy a brand new plastic one. You can find an old one and just spruce it up and give it a new life. Talking about upcycling, we're heading down to Victoria now. Sucheta Singh looks into a group who are upcycling art wreaths for the Robert Bateman Foundation. www.batemanfoundation.org for more details. Priscilla is a master at what she does, and she shares her knowledge through workshops. A Wild and Natural Christmas is coming up on November the 30th. The morning session is already full. There's room in the afternoon session to learn how to make one of these wreaths. You can go and collect the materials. It's 100% compostable, and Priscilla will take you through step by step on how you can do that for yourself. We've come to the end of this edition of Go Island. Quick reminder, the 25th Annual Country Christmas Tour, November 21st through 24th, cyartisans.com for full details and a list of the 22 artists participating in that. And one more thing before we officially sign off for today, Cultural Plan for a Creative Nanaimo. A draft of that document is currently on the City of Nanaimo's website, www.nanaimo.ca, and they are hosting an open house for public feedback on Thursday, November the 28th from 5 until 8 at the museum in downtown Nanaimo. A cultural plan for creative Nanaimo. Now's the time to participate in that process. Thanks for watching this edition of Go Island. We are out of time. We'll see you next time.
Go Island is brought to you by German Auto Import Network. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kate's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.